welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Everything Horror. I'm your host, Ebony Chainsaw. And if you can, please do me a favor by liking, sharing, and subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. So today, I wanted to talk about this movie trilogy by Ty West. And what it is Pearl, X, and Maxine. So we're going to discuss those three movies and pretty much how they all tie in together. So let's start on Pearl first. So Pearl is a film about this young lady that is grown, that is in a time where there's war, famine, she's gotten married. Her husband has decided he want to go off to war. So she has to go and live with her parents. And her father is ailing. Her mother has her doing a lot of the chores, taking care of the farm. And, she's in complete isolation. She doesn't have any, a lot of friends and family around. And every now and then her mom will send her out into town to get medicine for her father or some basic needs that they may have. So this particular time she goes out into town to get some things. And that's when you realize something is slightly off with this girl, because she hops on her bicycle, take off into town, doing a little looking around and everything. And at some point, when she has to come back home, on her way back home, she's having some weird fascinations about a scarecrow off in the field. And she's like just doing some really trippy stuff. And I'm like, okay, what is this? What this chick doing? So you can kind of see like, okay, now she's must be having some type of hallucinations or something. So when she finally makes it back home, most of the time she's at home, she's just basically wishing, her life was a certain way. She wanted to be like a can girl or one of those Hollywood starlets and everything. And I guess that was her dream. That's what she would have always wanted to do. And at some point in the film, an opportunity arises where there's a dance troupe coming into town. And so she's thinking, wow, that's going to be my way out of this thing. So basically what she does is she goes ahead against her mom's wishes, decides she's going to go out for it anyway. So she does whatever she needs to do to make this thing happen. Make this thing happen. So she goes to the auditions and everything. And during the time she's auditioning, I guess she's kind of second guessing herself and doubting herself, having hallucinations. Now the pressures come on. She goes to the auditions. I don't know. Maybe she thinks she nailed it, or maybe she thought she didn't. It was just so many weird thoughts going through her mind because she looks and sees all the competition. So now she's in a state of desperation, and she starts doing whatever she needs to do to, let's say, eliminate the competition. So she does all of these crazy things just so she can have that dream of stardom and making it. And what ends up happening is that, of course, the film has to end. So when the film ends, it's this crazy climactic scene that makes you say, what the what? And then all of a sudden it goes off. That's when X comes in. Now time has passed, you're in the 70s, and there's these people, and it's like, what you call it, the Shaggy mystery van on Scooby-Doo. They go driving up into the countryside. This man gets out of his van, goes up to this door, and he's encountered by this older guy. He's real old fella. And he's like, what are you here for? And he's like, hey, I heard about your room, your house for rent, your guest house. So the guy, sizes them up and like, kind of one of those things where, you know what, you're not the person I normally rent to, but money is money, so he goes ahead, makes the transaction, lets him rent out the guest house. But then he finds out he wasn't honest with him about how many people that are going to be in that house. So he tells him, hey, look, don't make no noise, don't make no trouble, and we're going to be good. So what ends up happening is they go in the guest house, and of course, they make one of those bounce type movies, and this guy has a wife. And guess who the wife is? Pearl. So Pearl now, maybe 50 years or so has gone by, and she goes like the nosy neighbor and start peeking over at the guest house next door to see what's going on. And then she realized they're making adult film. So now, when she realizes they're making this adult film, now she's kind of feeling some kind of way. She starts thinking about when she was young one day, and that could have been her. And all the cameras and the lights in the room is just making her think about when it was, when she was young and vigorous and full of life, and how she was attractive. And I think she must have been thinking, you know what? It's never too late. Even at 100 years old, it's never too late for me to feel sexy and beautiful and famous and loved. So there goes the delusion again. And at some point, she encounters one of the guys from the set, and your girl makes a move on him. That 100-year-old granny try to make moves on that young man. And he's like, nah, Grandma, I'm good, and Pearl didn't like that at all. So let's just say that didn't go well. And from that time of her being denied the pleasures of woman and feeling sexy and happy and loved, went away and went out the door, and she realized she was rejected. Oh my goodness, things get crazy. So now she doing all this crazy stuff. Her husband finds out, and it goes bad. Let's just say it goes really, really bad. And without telling you the movie, because I don't want to do that, what ends up happening is that the whole set is destroyed pretty much. Some people die, of course. And at the end of all of this, one of the people that are on the set, which happens to be named Maxine, is one of the people that get away. And when she gets away from the crime scene of everything that's happened, because Pearl couldn't handle her emotions, she ends up in LA. And there comes Maxine, the movie. So she ends up in LA during the time that they have the Zodiac killer. And so everybody's on edge and everything. And she gets befriended by this, I would say, shady attorney that helps her get a job in the industry. And she becomes very big in what she does in her genre, but she decides in doing all of this, she wants to change. She wants to be taken more seriously. So she decides to start auditioning for so she auditions for this Hollywood horror film. And I mean, she nails it. She makes it hers. And of course, she gets the audition. She gets the role. And, things are looking pretty up for her. And of course, what we don't realize is that in X, when the movie ended, the whole time she was there in that movie, there was something she was running from. So now whatever she's running from has followed her into the Maxine movie. And it kind of tells you, the dirty underbelly of the Hollywood industry, how people pretty much have to be willing to sell their soul. I mean, you heard all the stuff that people say about Hollywood. And so they kind of focus on that and everything. And during this time, she's being stalked and she don't know who she's being stalked by. And there's some unsavory things that she's done since she's been in LA. So she's a little paranoid too, because she's like, shoot, I did some things when I was back there on that set back in the day, and now I'm here in LA and I'm doing some unsavory things. Who's watching me? And I mean, people are dropping all around her that she's close to. So basically what ends up happening is that someone is trying to stop her from making her big debut in Hollywood. She can't figure out who it is. But of course, at the end of the film, you'll find out who it is. You'll find out everything. And it just pretty much comes together in the end of it. And out of all three of these films, I would have to say, by seeing Pearl, to me, Pearl was probably the most goriest. And then it would be X. And then to me, Maxine was really not all that gory. To me, Maxine was just more like the movie that was going to wrap everything up, so you can see it as the trilogy. But it was not that gory to me. It was not all that fast paced to me. It was okay, but to me, I would say Pearl and X, those two were, in my personal opinion, my faves. If I had to give you a review of all three overall, I would say it came together. It did what it was supposed to do, and I have no complaints. So I personally wouldn't be rushing to see Maxine, but if you've seen Pearl and X, so with Pearl and I would say with Pearl and with X, and then you go into Maxine overall rating of all three movies together, would I give it a thumbs down or would I give it a scream? I would give it a... Yes, because I personally feel Ty West did an amazing job. And of course, the actress Mia Goth, she rocks. She is so, so good. I'm like, kudos, girl, because to me, playing crazy is not easy. So, not that I know. Probably because I'm really crazy. But anyway, that's another story. So, I give it a thumbs up, a scream, all of that. Because together as a trilogy, it was very well done. How he did the time periods and stuff. He really, really went into good details with that so you could understand, during the times of the eras of the three movies, he did a good job just bringing them all together, really having you be in that era of which when the movie was being released and everything, for Pearl, you could see it was around the wartime and, the clothing set, how the look of it, I can't see the look of it, but as it was explained, the time period being on, farmland in an isolated place and, how the town looked at that time, it was very well described. And then, once you went into the 70s, he had the whole 70s, van, the music, the clothing. And then you go into the 80s and it was the same thing. He was just nail on getting all the eras correctly done. And that's one of the things I really appreciated about him directing this, because he was on point with that. So yeah, if you get a chance, you're chilling out at home, ain't got nothing to do, go ahead and check out that Ty West trilogy of Pearl, X, and Maxine. I think you may enjoy it. This is Ebony Chainsaw, and it's time for me to be going. So I'll be seeing y'all. Peace.